Now let's bring in Jake Sotiriadis, former Air Force intelligence officer and author of The Revenge of Ideology, and Gregory Glaros, a former Naval aviator. Gentlemen, welcome. Exciting day for Americans who wore the uniform like you, obviously with this heroic mission. As the intelligence guy, Jake, can you talk about the level of sophistication in terms of all these different agencies working together for this common mission?
Absolutely, Mike. Number one, today I think all Americans will breathe a sigh of relief knowing that not only the pilot that was missing, but now the weapons systems officer has been brought home in this daring raid. It's truly a testament to the idea that when the United States military says no one is left behind, they mean it and they execute it with remarkable precision. The intelligence community would have brought a remarkable suite of assets to this operation. You would have had satellites. You would have had the full force of the American intelligence community, human intelligence operations, signals intelligence. This would have been the #1 priority for U.S. forces in theater. Mm-hmm. So in places like the Combined Air and Space Operations Center, you would have had an internal cell, joint special operations, rescue stood up, all of the intelligence assets in theater in terms of manned, unmanned assets. All of these would have been focused with that laser focus on retrieving the downed airmen. And that's exactly what they did in coordination with our Israeli allies in the region as well, to execute this operation and finally bring this weapons system officer home.
Greg, as a former pilot, what about your training kicks in when you prepare for the possibility you could be down behind enemy lines by yourself?
Mike, thanks. But we are always prepared for this. There isn't an expectation, but prepared. And certainly in my time in Desert Storm, my wingman was shot down and he was killed. My roommate later on and squadron mate, he was shot down, held prisoner of war. And leave no doubt that America, as Jake mentioned here, will not leave a single person behind. And so as soon as you eject, you're looking for your chute. You're making sure that it's inflated at that point. You're checking the horizon, where you are and where you're located. And the first thing that goes to your mind is, where do I hide? And how do I hide? And then communicate that to whomever's, they're all listening and they're all posed and prepared to rescue us from that standpoint. In my case, there were 2 surface-to-air missiles that came after my aircraft. We were able to defeat them and come home alive. And in this case, we have 2 rescued aviators, which is a marvel on the day that Christ has risen. And so it's just remarkable to see how this comes together. And the assets that have been brought to bear. Yes, we lost an F-15, we lost an A-10 trying to rescue them, damaged helicopters for the first pilot, and then 2 C-130s were also lost, that they were destroyed in place, and then 3 more were brought in. So all those forces were brought together with the special forces so that we could singly bring back a single aviator. Remarkable. Leave no doubt in anybody's mind of our willingness to save our own.
Jake, Fox is reporting that the CIA launched a deception campaign, and then you had the skill to find this crew member hiding in a crevice in the mountain, literally a needle in a haystack. What about all that sophistication?
Mike, I think this really brings home the point that none of this is easily done. This is a very complicated operation. And I think the fact that we are now talking about a rescue and recovery mission of these 2 downed aviators focuses on the fact that 2 or 3 more weeks, as the president has said, seems unlikely that operations will continue to be able to bring these to completion. I believe that we're going to be in this conflict a lot longer than we're seeing right now. It could be months before we achieve the desired objectives. We're seeing that the Iranians still have the capability to strike forces, even though their Navy, air defenses, and ballistic missile capability has been reduced. There still is an ideological network anchoring that regime and keeping it in power. And so we are in for, I think, more weeks and perhaps months of this. This is certainly a tactical victory, but as we've seen in the past, tactical victories alone don't guarantee a strategic outcome. And so I think that we have to be circumspect on where things are moving over the next weeks and months.
Greg, what does this do to deployed service members who are overseas fighting this conflict and see these 2 Americans coming home, that the commander-in-chief and their fellow military were not going to leave Americans behind?
I mean, this is from the president on down. It buoys your confidence. You know that you're going to be protected, and all these assets we're going to bring to bear in order to bring you home and to keep you fighting. It's just a remarkable outcome for us as American servicemen and women that are out there, and those that are deployed. I ask that Americans pray for their safety, because as the president now starts to deploy troops in that region, He's there to collect on an invoice of as the Iranians have been holding us at hostage here for $4 trillion, and America has been footing the bill. And I would also just close with that. The president has instituted new diplomacy, which is American roulette, right? Where there's a bullet in every chamber. It's not just one.
Sounds like the president's preparing to unleash all kinds of fury on the Iranians if they don't come to the table. We're nearly out of time, but what are your expectations?
Mike, I think that we're at a critical juncture right now in the conflict, and the president has some serious decisions to make about the trajectory of things. We haven't necessarily heard yet a real strategic objective. Is this about regime change? Is it about neutralizing Iran's capabilities so they can't project power outside of their borders? Is it about going in and securing the enriched uranium? All of those things are important. They all require different strategic approaches and a different level of effort. So the question is, if we're going to deploy ground troops, maybe to take Karg Island or Abu Musa or Keshem Island, that's one type of mission. That also creates vulnerabilities. And as we're seeing here in the instance of the 2 downed aviators, every single mission that we undertake carries with it that inherent risk. So even though the Iranian regime has been weakened and the military has been weakened does not mean out for the count. The question is, what is the staying power? How can the United States target strategically population, elites, and institutions so that we can actually get to the desired results, which I believe in the end will have to be a regime change. If we leave this regime in power, we may have won the battle, but we risk creating a future conflict.
Greg, briefly, what do you expect the next 48 hours or so?
Well, I expect if the Iranian mullahs don't concede, which is, I think, highly doubtful, that the president will follow through, hence American roulette. He's got every single American tool of arsenal within his holster, and he will use them. So whether it's taking Karg Island, as Jake just mentioned here, probably one of the principles so that we can take over the flow of oil. That's what's been funding these mullahs.
Gentlemen, thanks for your service. Thanks for your great analysis today.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.